The news at this hour begins on a very sad note as we understand that a secondary school building has collapsed in Plateau State, killing at least 12 persons and leaving dozens of others injured. Activities at St. Academy and its immediate environment in Busabuji, Jos North, were disrupted on Friday morning when the school's two-story building caved in on students and their teachers. It was reported that the collapse trapped more than 70 pupils. Panicked and desperate residents quickly descended on the scene to provide help to screaming teacher and students for help. They were joined by emergency workers to battle the rubble to rescue those trapped underneath. So far, 12 people have been pulled out dead, while dozens of others injured in the collapse have been rushed to nearby hospitals. News Centre's correspondent Chizoba Anyowe is at the scene of the building collapse and brings us updates. Chizoba, thank you very much for joining us. A really sad day in Jos. What more can you tell us?
Well, just like you said, it's the same thing on the lips of everyone that has seen this. It's such a sad incident. Some people have tagged it a Black Friday in the city of Jos, where a two-story building collapsed in the premises of the Saint Academy in Busabuji area of Jos, Plateau State. And I mean, it's been a very sad incident. Well, we came in, this happened like 10, 11 a.m. this morning, and immediately we came in, we saw people, so many people gathered here, not only from security agencies, humanitarian agencies too, were also on the ground to help in excavating these trapped students who were actually in the hall writing their last examination for the third term.
What does a preliminary investigations tell us at the moment? Do you have any issues as to what might have led to the building collapse? What the update is on those who were injured and are currently in the hospital? Okay, I think we're having a little bit of a challenge with the network. Speaking to Chizoba, we will try, if we can, to reconnect and get as much update as we can on this very sad development. Our hearts goes to the parents. Let's now tell you that a federal high court in Abuja granted bail to former Power Minister Saleh Maman for 10 billion naira. Justice James Omotosho ruled that Maman must provide two sureties each, owning property worth 750 million naira within the court's jurisdiction. Alternatively, Maman can present a bank guarantee or bond for the amount. The sureties must show 3 years of tax payments, and Maman must surrender his travel passport. Until these conditions are met, he will remain in Kuje prison. Maman, charged with laundering 33.8 billion naira, was arraigned on Thursday. The 12-count charge by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission includes accusations of acquiring property with looted funds through proxies. His trial starts on September 25. To other matters, Oba Owolabi Olakunleyi was on Friday crowned as the 43rd Olubadan of Ibadan land. The event was held at the family compound whose right is it to crown any Olubadan of Ibadan land. In March, Olalekan Balogun, the 42nd Olubadan, joined his ancestors. He was 81 years old. Those present at the venue included a former Oyo State governor and member of the Olubadan in Council, Rashidi Ladoja, the Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, and a former Senate leader, Taslim Folari, among others. Sokoto State Governor Ahmed Aliyu has assented 6 bills passed by Sokoto State House of Assembly. Included in the bills is the bill for a law to further amend the Sokoto State Local Government Law of 2008 that has generated mixed reactions across the country. The governor says his administration had no intention to witch hunt any individual or group of persons, but rather intends to work to ensure all the laws operational in the state complies with the provisions of the nation's constitution. The governor attributed the tensions and reactions the process of amending the law had attracted to the handiwork of unscrupulous politicians who were out to score cheap political goals.
Development. Let me make it clear that the just amended laws are not meant to hurt any individual or groups, but rather to promote good governance, to remove the ambiguity and inconsistencies with the nation's constitution. We note with concern the unnecessary tension created by our proposal to amend some of these laws. Some of their actions were politically motivated, while others were done ignorantly without care to incur from the right quarters on the duties and intention on the amendments. While appreciating our ulama for the concern shown on the amendment issue, let me remind you that as ulama, you are representing Allah's messenger. Therefore, you should not allow lazy politicians to use you in scoring their political goals. Ladies and gentlemen, the signing of amendment laws is a clear testimony that this administration has full respect and regards for the rule of law. And therefore, we would continue to ensure that whatever laws we are making or amending do not go contrary to the nation constitution.
All right, let's go back to my colleague in Jos Plateau State, Chizoba Anyowi. Chizoba, if you can hear me, can you confirm, please?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Before we were interrupted by the network, I was trying to find out from you if there are updates on those that have been taken to the hospital or the causes of the collapse of the building. Were there no indication that the building was in crisis?
Well, according to sources, no one can say for sure what actually happened. But according to some people that gathered here earlier on, some of them said the students had noticed over time that the building, sometimes when in class, they feel some vibration on the floor of the building. But as being children, they wouldn't know what actually was happening, you know, and so probably did not report to the school management as to what they have experienced so far. But that's done. The victims actually have been rushed to the hospital where they are receiving treatments. Earlier, I spoke with the NMA chairman in the state, and he said that orders have been given to all the hospitals where they're receiving this treatment to ensure that anybody brought in there as regarding this receive treatment immediately. And so that had been done. And unfortunately, if you can see behind me, even the standing buildings here earlier when we came in have been all pulled down, because some others have also said that the cause of the collapse is because they were substandardly built, you know. So because of that, they were all pulled down to, of course, avoid any other reoccurrence.
Okay,
So
how has the government, beyond taking care of the bills of those in the hospital, has the government said what their next action would be to prevent such an occurrence again in the future?
Sure. While they said details are still sketchy, the State Commissioner for Information, Musa Ashoms, was here earlier with some other government officials to say that they have condemned.
Okay, I think the network has come back again to bite us. We apologize for the glitches. We'll have to leave it there for now. I thank my colleague in absentia, Chizoba, for holding the fort in Jos. Now let's tell you that the Nigerian Senate has rejected a bill seeking to review foreign exchange market regulations. The legislation, sponsored by Chairman Senate Committee on Finance, Sani Musa, also seeks to make provisions for the control, monitoring and supervision of transactions conducted in the foreign exchange market. The proposed law is titled the Foreign Exchange Control and Monitoring Bill 2024. In his lead debate, Musa described the bill as an important legislation that seeks to repeal the foreign exchange laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. Musa also said the proposed law would provide for the regulation, monitoring and supervision of the transactions conducted in the market and for related matters. Joining me on the news to discuss more on this is a financial expert, Yinka Oyeko. Yinka, thank you for joining us. How would the proposed bill impact the current regulatory framework governing foreign exchange transactions in the country?
Well, thank you for having me on this program. Firstly, I think that it was it's a bill that is in good faith. However, now with what has happened at the Senate, it is still bet. But having said that, the bill, when it becomes an act, or if it becomes an act, it will make the environment highly regulated and transparent. I think it will also curb a lot of round tripping. Because the CBN will have, eyes on everything that is going on. Eventually, legitimate businesses that actually need FX to business will have access to it. So, in addition to this, a lot of employment will be created but I see some duplications in the bill. One I saw was the licensing of people for businesses that want to carry out FX transaction. Would it mean that the BDCs will cease to exist? Would it be that we are trying to enable the power market as it were? I don't really know about that. But I think that the CBN should work with the senator and look at the bill again, then represent to the National Assembly. Thank you.
The senator, Senator Sani Musa emphasized stabilizing the currency value through liberalization of foreign exchange transactions. How effective do you think this approach would be in practice?
Yes, when we talk about being effective, I think the liberalization itself improve fund flows into the economy, and it will give a lot of investors, confidence in the market, and as such, we should see a lot of fund flows. In furtherance to this, the actual value of the naira, hence there will be proper planning, by investors, before they come into the market. There will be a lot of predictability, of the way our economy should flow, and I think, on the long run, it will improve the Nigerian economy. Thank you. Back to you.
Could you maybe explain the implications, as briefly as you can, of course, of the bill's provision on the operation of domiciliary accounts and the acceptance of foreign exchange for payments in Nigeria?
So when you are talking about the implication of bills, the bill if it passed into law, so with effective monitoring, the FX transaction landscape become a bit more predictable, like I said, ab initio. What it means to me personally is that acceptance of FX payments within Nigeria, when you say within Nigeria, I mean peer-to-peer, will be outlawed. And essentially, FX transactions should be international, to be honest, except maybe for investments when it comes to P2P transactions within the country. And so this will reduce the pressure on the naira, because by the time you want to access FX, it will only be for importation of goods and services and things that will enable the country growth. Really, the utopia should be that naira should be used to settle transactions, should not be used to settle transactions within the country, to be honest. So that's the situation would be. However, if you import goods and services, and you are paid in foreign exchange, that's better for the country, and this should be encouraged and rewarded. Thank you, Back to you.
All right, Yinka, I'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
We want a short break. We'll be right back. To stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Nigeria's government says that it has concluded plans to improve the manufacturing launch of a 1,000 megawatts capacity solar photovoltaic plant before the last quarter of the year. This was revealed by the special envoy to President Bola Tinubu on climate change during the launch of the Care Foundation 6 years country strategy for humanitarian interventions in the country. News Centre's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
These are humanitarian and development professionals from both government, local and international non-governmental organizations. The objective of the session is to brainstorm on effective ways of implementing humanitarian interventions locally without reliance on foreign bodies.
His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a landmark move, has established Africa's first eco-industrial park, Nigeria's first green industrial zone, Evergreen City, a zone that is established for the exclusive purpose of the mass manufacture of renewable energy technologies for not just local demand, to meet local demand, but ultimately to meet the demand of the wider West African sub-region and eventually the continent. Aside from the action we're taking, we also understand that none of this will be possible if we attempt to operate in isolation, which is why another point Dr. Abdu made this morning resonated with me. He spoke to the need for collaboration. In fact, I think I saw a logo up on the screen that said leading locally and connecting globally for impact. That's what it's all about.
NGOs can play a vital role of fostering decolonization by taking practical steps such as adopting locally relevant approaches and challenging current strategies and approaches through a decolonization lens. Faith-based organizations can contribute to decolonization by reassessing their worldviews, participating in collaborative processes, and establishing decolonization practices.
The Care Foundation also took time to launch its 6-year strategic plan on humanitarian interventions in the country.
And then unveil it down, pull it away this way, this way, this way, and it comes down.
We are reaching about 10.5 million people within the strategy period. Some with humanitarian interventions, and about half of them, and then others with development across 20 states of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country.
We are really interested. We are available. This is an open government, and this is the government that is listening, to the extent that we are ready to do everything possible to ensure that we support not only the girl child, as it were, but also the poor and vulnerable Nigerians, which are the primary constituency of the likes of Care Nigeria.
The new strategy hopes to tame humanitarian crisis in Nigeria's crisis-affected communities. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Humanitarian stakeholders have called for more efforts to tackle the challenges faced by residents in many rural communities. The call was made in the nation's capital, Abuja, as the 1,000 peace ambassadors converged, pledging to collaborate with government, international agencies and non-governmental organizations to help mobilize resources to support citizens in need. Marvelous Obomanu reports.
The lack of access to basic health care, education, shelter, and poor sanitation has continued to plague rural communities, most in developing countries, with Nigeria not being left out. To tackle these challenges, some humanitarian stakeholders converge on the nation's capital, Abuja, at the instance of 1,000 peace ambassadors of Nigeria to review humanitarian efforts in the country and to profile solutions. One of the issues in focus is the lack of access to menstrual hygiene needs by some women and girls in many rural communities.
The vision of the Gayatri Foundation is rooted in the fundamental belief that every woman deserves access to basic hygiene products that not only ensure her physical well-being but also uphold her dignity. In many parts of Nigeria and indeed across the world, the lack of access to affordable sanitary pad remains a pressing issue.
Humanitarian diplomacy is critical in addressing the needs of vulnerable communities. By collaborating with international bodies, NGOs, and other nations, we can mobilize resources, expertise, and support to alleviating poverty, provide health care, and ensure education for all.
The stakeholders urge governments within the sub-region to look inwards and create long-lasting solutions to peculiar humanitarian needs of their states, rather than focusing on government at the center.
One of the major areas I will urge the government of Nigeria today is to put a platform where the governors will have a role to play in supporting the federal, not just waiting for at the end of the season to collect the allocation. That is why a lot of uninterested leaders are going into politics today. Give a tax to them. Give them a room to bring in something to the table. On that ground, you will know that those that are coming on a political ground will come for the interests of our dear country, Nigeria.
At the level of ECOWAS, they say plans are ongoing to forge partnerships and leverage economic opportunities for member states to take advantage.
Presently, we're trying to have partnership and investment opportunities for member states, potentially reducing its reliance on ECOWAS. Meanwhile, women in West Africa are making significant diplomatic efforts to promote economic investment growth in the region.
With climate change disruptions impacting many vulnerable communities, stakeholders say the need for humanitarian interventions cannot be overemphasized. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Oboman.
Thank you, Marvelous. President Bola Tinubu has named the National Art Theatre in Igamu, Lagos, after Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka. Tinubu announced this in a letter he wrote to celebrate the iconic figure in commemoration of his 90th birthday on July 13. Tinubu was quoted to have said this in a statement by his media aide, Algerian. The president saluted one of Nigeria's living repositories of history, knowledge, and courage, and commends him for his valiant efforts in the trenches for the nation's future, both as a pro-democracy champion and as a trenchant voice against corruption and maladministration over several decades. Professor Soyinka is a foremost advocate of good governance and of a fair and just society. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1986, the first African to win the prize in that category. Aid workers say they're seeing an alarming increase in severely malnourished children with life-threatening complications at medical facilities in northern Nigeria. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization office in the northeastern city of Maiduguri, Nigeria has the largest number of food-insecure people globally at 31.8 million. Aid workers in this area have also warned that an unprecedented number of children in northern Nigeria are suffering from acute malnutrition, which has also led to other conditions such as tuberculosis and acute diarrhea and stunted children's growth. According to Médecins Sans Frontières figures, more than 52,000 patients were diagnosed with severe acute malnutrition across 7 states in 2023, and 2,693 of them died. They are calling for more action from authorities and humanitarian organizations in this region, including preventative action. The news continues in East Africa, where Kenya's police chief, Japhet Koome, has resigned following sharp criticism over anti-government protests that left dozens of people dead. The presidency revealed this on Friday, describing it as the latest head to roll in the wake of the demonstrations. Organized online and led largely by young Gen Z Kenyans, the protests have plunged Ruto's administration into the most serious crisis of his 2-year presidency, forcing him to abandon proposed tax hikes as he scrambles to repair the damage. On Thursday, Ruto dismissed all cabinet ministers, including the Attorney General, with the exception of the Foreign Minister and Deputy President. But the move appeared to do little to appease young Kenyans who warned that they would resume street protest unless Ruto himself steps down. Still in the country, young Kenyans on Friday dismissed President William Ruto's decision to sack most of his cabinet, with some warning that they would resume street protest unless he steps down. Ruto has been scrambling to contain the fallout of deadly protest against proposed tax hikes after last month's peaceful rallies descended into violence and tapped into widespread anger against his government. Organized online and led by largely young Gen Z Kenyans, the protests have plunged Ruto's administration into the most serious crisis of his 2-year presidency, forcing him to abandon the financial bill containing the tax hikes. Let's head to South Africa, where the United African Transformation says it is pulling out of the Government of National Unity after it claims the African National Congress negotiated with it in bad faith. UAT Head of Communications, Mighty Mabule, said the party has consistently emphasized a need for progressive leadership and good governance for the people of South Africa. The UAT, which did not receive any ministerial posts or chairperson positions in the committee portfolios, announced its decision to join the opposition benches alongside the Umkhonto weZizwe Party, the Economic Fighters, and the African Transformation Movement. Up north, Algerians have been reacting to President Abdelmadjid Tebboun's intention to seek a second term in an election set for September. Tebboune, who is 78, was elected in 2019 with 58% of the vote following months of pro-democracy protests. Tebboune, accused of leading a crackdown on dissent since mass protest in 2019, recently announced that he would seek a second term. In March, he announced that the presidential election will be held on September 7, 3 months ahead of schedule.
خدم البلاد وان شاء الله الدوزيام موندا يطلع ان شاء الله واش نقول لك يعني راه واقف انا نتمناه يعني يفتح شويه الشركات اللي جون يعني يخدموا لازم يدير هذا الشيء هذا اللي جانا مضايعين
ان شاء الله يا اخويا انا ماذا بينا يا تبون يسقم البلاد ان شاء الله يفوت لنا كاع الشغل تاعنا هذا مثلا هذا واش نحبوا منه هذا هو الميساج اللي نلعبوه
هذا هو يعني في 3 سنوات ولا 4 سنوات ما تقدرش تدير واش كاين ولكن الحمد لله كما نقولوا ما رحناش المديونيه والاستقرار في البلاد والامن وهذا واش الانسان واش يطلب بقات لنا الا بعض الشروط. احنا المشكل في الجزائر عندنا قضيه تاع الشباب يعني تشغيل الشباب كما نقولوا هنا ماذا بينا الدوله دير مؤسسات يعني بتشغل.
A Russian Superjet 100 airliner crashed in a forest near Moscow, killing all 3 crew members on board. The plane was on a test flight after scheduled repairs and went down about an hour after takeoff. Emergency services confirmed the deaths of the 3 pilots. The crash occurred in the Kolomensky district, 37 miles southeast of Moscow. A plume of grey smoke was seen rising from the crash site, which was shared on social media. Russian investigators have opened a criminal probe into the incident, the cause of which is currently unknown. With the conclusion of the NATO summit in Washington, China has condemned the summit's declaration that described it as a decisive enabler of Russia's war against Ukraine and of large-scale support of Russia's defense industrial base. China's foreign ministry described the Washington summit declaration as playing up tensions in the Asia-Pacific region with a Cold War mentality. News Centre's Bongani Zeziba takes a look at some of the key points played up by the summit.
Just concluded NATO summit in Washington has come to a close, and with it a stark reminder of the internal divisions within the alliance. The NATO summit declaration was meant to be a show of unity and strength, but instead It highlighted the deep cracks within the alliance.
Dual-use equipment, microelectronics, a lot of other tools which are enabling Russia to build the missiles, to build the bombs, to build the aircraft, to build the weapons they are using to attack Ukraine. Is an important message to China. And then, of course, we also then state that it cannot continue like this.
The alliance comments on Russia's war against Ukraine did not sit well with China. Beijing has been increasingly critical of the alliance and its stance on its territorial claims and human rights record. China's foreign minister blasted the summit declaration, calling it hypocritical and irresponsible. He accused NATO members of trying to drive a wedge between China and other countries and warned that Beijing would not be swayed by such attempts.
The content concerning China is full of prejudice, smear, and provocation. We are strongly dissatisfied with this and firmly oppose it. We have made solemn representations to NATO. On the issue of Ukraine, NATO hyped up China's responsibility. It makes no sense and comes with malicious intent. China's objective and impartial position and constructive role on the issue of Ukraine have been widely recognized by the international community. Without any evidence, NATO has continued to spread false information fabricated by the United States.
Summit host U.S. President Joe Biden accused Russia of ramping up its wartime footing with the help of China.
They're significantly ramping up their production of weapons, munitions, and vehicles. And they're doing it with the help of China, North Korea, and Iran. We cannot, in my view, we cannot allow the alliance to fall behind.
While the NATO summit may have produced a joint declaration, it was clear that the alliance is struggling to find common ground on some of its most pressing issues. As tensions with China continue to rise, it's difficult to see how NATO can maintain its cohesion in the face of such deep divisions. For News Central, Bongani Sisiba.
A total of 10,000 indigents and residents of Abia State, southeast Nigeria, are to benefit from the 1 billion naira interest-free loan under the state's cooperative support scheme. Governor Alex Oti launched the loan scheme in Umuahia, where he also commissioned and handed over operational buses to the harmonized task force in the state. News Center's Chinwe Ugele was there and now reports.
Drawn from the 184 political wards in Abia State. The aim, according to the government, is to assist small businesses survive and possibly grow.
70% of the beneficiaries in this present batch are women and young people who have shown great industry by doing so much with very little.
From calculations, each of the beneficiaries will receive not more than 100,000 naira to boost their trades.
This scheme is structured in such a way that any petty trader that does well and is very serious in his business, he or she will be given more money as a way of encouragement.
Some of the beneficiaries say the financial support will be helpful in so many ways, but want government to extend the period of repayment to enable them recoup their investments before time.
It's going to be a boost to my business. It will increase my productivity in poultry.
I will use it to rent land at the amount of 15,000, depending the size. I use it to buy fertilizer and other things, such as crops that I will use to plant in the farm.
Governor Alex Oti advised the first set of the beneficiaries to consider others waiting to access the loans by ensuring they pay up in due time and judiciously use the funds.
Our target beyond the present number of beneficiaries is to reach about 100,000 businesses directly over the next 36 months, because we are optimistic that today's beneficiaries will put in honest effort to repay the loans in time so that others can benefit.
These persons here today who have packed this hall to capacity are the beneficiaries of the interest-free loan scheme meant to reach the nano traders in Abia State. They are also expected to refund this money after some months. The method of retrieval of these funds will go a long way to determining what happens next. In Omaria for News Central, Chihuahua.
The Edo State Hockey Association Board is organizing a one-day youth hockey fiesta on Saturday at St. Maria Goroti College Hockey Stadium, Benin City, featuring at the tourney are St. Maria Goroti College Benin, Niger College Benin, Idia College Benin, and Our Lady of Fatima College Auchi. Other highlights of the event include veteran masters matches between Edo Hockey Masters, male and female, Goroti Old Girls and Uniben hockey teams. The occasion will witness the donation of hockey brand new hockey equipment to students of St. Maria Goroti by the Old Girls Association. The tournament will serve as the pinnacle of the agenda of the association to focus on progressive development of pilot schools, which commenced with the establishment of hockey centers in these schools with assigned coaches from the Edo State Sports Commission. Nigerian international Wilfred Ndidi has expressed his excitement over a new deal with English Premier League club Leicester City. The Foxes today announced a new 3-year contract extension for the Super Eagles midfielder. Ndidi has made 273 appearances and scored 17 goals for the club since his arrival in 2017. The defensive midfielder, who was a key part of the team that won promotion to the Premier League as championship winners last season, has made 273 appearances for City in all competitions, scoring 17 goals. Since joining from Belgian side Genk, the Nigerian international has lifted the Emirates FA Cup, FA Community Shield, and most recently the championship title with the club. His new contract would extend his stay at Leicester City beyond a decade. Carlos Alcaraz moved one win away from defending his Wimbledon title after clinching a comeback victory over Daniil Medvedev to reach Sunday's final. Fifth seed Medvedev was attempting to avenge last year's semi-final defeat when he fell in straight sets to the Spaniard. But after faltering at the start of a thrilling sequel, Alcaraz soon bounced back to wrap up a 6-7, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4 win. In Sunday's showpiece, Alcaraz will take on either second seed and seven-time champion Novak Djokovic, in what would be a rematch of last year's memorable final, or Italy's Lorenzo Musetti, the 25th seed, as the Spaniard aims to claim a fourth Grand Slam title. Alcaraz could become just the ninth man in the Open era to retain the Wimbledon title. It's also his chance to win back-to-back titles at Roland Garros and SW19, a rare accomplishment completed by his hero, Rafael Nadal, in both 2008 and 2010, and achieved most recently by Djokovic in 2021. That's all we have for you at this hour, but not before we take another look at some of the major stories. Scores injured and many still trapped under rubble as building collapses in Plateau State. Federal High Court has granted bail to ex-Prime Minister Salim Aman. We also brought you news that Kenya's police chief Japhet Koome resigned after sharp criticism. Would like to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media at News Central TV. You can choose to watch live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind attention. I'll see you much later.